How to pull a girl home almost every night that you go out. I actually know several guys here in Vegas that pull girls more often than not when they go out to bars and clubs. And now you might think, and I myself also pull quite a bit, but this video isn't really about just me. It's about the commonalities that I see between these guys who have a lot of success. And you might think, oh, they're tall and good looking. Actually, among these guys, I'm probably the best looking one, and I'm not really that good looking. Maybe if I lose 20 pounds, I'll be okay. And I'm the best looking one of this group of guys that pulls more than half the times when they go out. And you might think, okay, well, what if it's you know, that you're tall or very charismatic? Nope, that's not it either. These guys, actually, there's one who's tall. Most of them are not. The other one, right, the charisma, that's the most interesting, because these guys I know that pull consistently almost every single time they go out, I see them leaving with girl after girl after girl. None of them are that charismatic. When you talk to them, you don't think, man, this guy, he must slay with chicks. You don't think that. Now, they have a certain intensity about them. They all have this like piercing energy where you can tell they just go for what they want. But none of them are charismatic. A couple of them are actually kind of awkward. And this is among, I'd say it's, 5 guys in Vegas who I know that all pull 3 to 4 times per week, including myself. Well, maybe I'm charismatic, but the other ones are not charismatic. And that's what's interesting. They're not good looking. They're not particularly charismatic. They're not super tall. And yes, there are guys who are tall and good looking, obviously, that pull and rely on their looks. I'm not saying that's, I'm not saying those aren't advantages, but there is a strategy that these guys use that separates them from all the competition. That's what I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm going to break that down into the steps they take that make them different. And it might sound unromantic because it's definitely not going to like fall into the Disney narrative of finding true love, because these guys, it's that's not the vibe. But it's what works. This is what actually works. And this is from hours and hours of seeing it work myself and seeing the difference between my clients who are struggling until they get coaching with me versus these guys who are absolutely killing it. And a lot of these guys are pulling hot girls too, right? They're not just pulling, they're actually pulling hot girls. And so what is it? The first thing they all have in common is that they approach like madmen. These guys will approach 30 to 50 women per night. They do not give a fuck about getting rejected. You'll see, there was one of these guys, I was out with him last night. A girl was like disgusted. Like she looked disgusted by it. This guy's like 50. He's pretty old. She's like disgusted. Oh my God, you even thought you could talk to me. But just earlier, he was telling me how he pulled 3 girls this week. And I've seen him pull many times. I know he's not lying. So he just got wrecked. But he didn't care, right? He just went on to the next one 10 seconds later. Like he did not give a shit. And this is a mentality thing. You realize, look, if I talk to enough women, a lot of them are not going to like me. A lot of them are going to be disinterested and do something that could hurt my feelings or just neglect me. That is going to happen. But so what? If I approach 50 women, one of them is going to be super DTF, right? There's one that's going to be very easy to pull. If you ask 100 women to have sex, at least one would probably say yes. And that's not the method I'm saying. The point is, if you're just going for it again and again and again and again, eventually you're going to meet the girls you have chemistry with. And it requires you to get over your ego, because every single guy who I know that pulls consistently, they approach constantly. They don't give a fuck. They're just talk to a girl, talk to a girl, talk to a girl, talk to a girl. So that is the first thing you got to be aware of, is just not giving a fuck about waiting for the perfect moment, looking for the perfect girl, looking for the romantic situation. You see a girl who's in a relatively approachable situation. If she's like making out with a guy, do that at your own risk. But a girl who's just, not holding hands or like clearly in a romantic situation with a guy and who you find attractive, and you say hello. Right? You say hello. Introduce yourself. You can literally just say, hi, I'm Avery. I mean, if you copy that, that'd be weird, but you get the idea. You can literally just say that and strike up a conversation. And you do that again and again and again, and there's a momentum to it. and each approach becomes easier than the last. And over time, you just get this energy of purposefulness, this energy of just being someone who doesn't give a fuck. You reach something called the indifference threshold. The indifference threshold means that you literally no longer care about rejection. It's a beautiful feeling when you have it. You literally don't care about rejection. And when you experience that, then you are free. Then you are free to just go for it. Then when you see a girl's eyes light up a little bit, whereas normally you might hesitate and think, maybe she's just being nice. You don't know. Whereas normally you'd be hesitant. When you reach the indifference threshold, there's zero hesitation. You just take her to the dance floor, right? Or you start making out with her. You can just tell. Your instincts take over. You stop getting in your own way. Because game isn't about so much these advanced psychological crazy techniques that are logical. It's about getting out of your own way and letting your instincts take over. Because sex is something that is pre-verbal. It's not logical. It's something that we have this, like, you don't have to teach, an animal to have sex. It'll figure it out on its own when the right emotions are triggered. And the same thing is true for us. But what we do is overthink and get in the way of that process. When there's chemistry with a girl, what naturally would happen is it'll escalate more and more unless, she has some rule about not wanting to have sex on the first date or, you offend her. But by itself, what would happen is it's just going to escalate more and more. That's naturally how it plays out if there's attraction. But we get in our own way when we start overthinking, worrying about rejection, worrying about what other people think, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can get rid of that by just approaching everyone. And some girls will be like, fuck off. That'll happen occasionally. Maybe 1 out of every 30 girls will be really mean. And that will hurt for a minute. But then you talk to the next girl and now you're icier because you face that rejection. Now there's nothing to lose because you've already gone through the worst situation. So that's the number one thing that these guys all do. The second one is that they lead relentlessly. By leading, I mean when you're talking to a girl, if you're just talking to a girl, having a nice conversation, you're like 5 feet away from each other, 6 feet, because you take COVID very seriously. You're 6 feet away from each other and you're talking for 3 minutes and you're still 6 feet away from each other and you haven't moved and you haven't started getting physical a little bit, like touching her shoulder, stuff like that. It's going nowhere. She's going to get bored. It feels like nothing's going to happen. It feels like if you were to get in a room with her, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You would just be like, and that's when a girl will say, what is this, amateur hour? That happened to me once when I was younger. Didn't know what to do. I was afraid. She feels that. She feels what would happen if there was a sexual situation. Are you the guy that's going to ravish her? Or are you the guy that's going to be like, you don't know what to do. You're not in control. You're not dominant. She can feel that based on whether you're leading or not. So that's very important. Make sure that you are constantly leading. There's several ways to do this. One is physical escalation. That's leading things forward, right? Touching her shoulder. And then if it's at a bar, you usually want to get closer and then kind of be grabbing her by the waist and then take her to dance. Something like that. Or leading just, hey, let's go to the outside area. I can't hear you. It's too loud. Let's go to the outside area. Or, hey, let's go sit at a table or whatever. Move her somewhere. Lead. They lead fast. A lot of girls won't be down to go anywhere with you. They don't want to leave their friends or whatever. Those girls, you get their number. You set plans for later. And then you find one that is willing to follow your lead. And this is very important because there's a concept that there's 3 types of girls when you approach. No girls, maybe girls, and yes girls. Now, no one is really getting no girls. It's very difficult, right? I mean, they might have a boyfriend or they're married. There are exceptions, but generally, you're not going to get no girls with game. Very rare that that's going to happen. So first thing is you have to identify the no girls and not waste time with them and move on. But what a lot of guys do is waste time with maybe girls when they're not even getting the yes girls. So these guys will approach a girl. She won't follow their lead. She's not comfortable with you touching her. It's not sexual. And then these guys will waste a lot of time in that interaction. If you're not getting the yes girls, learn how to get them first. Because a yes girl is a girl who all you have to do is say, hey, let's go dance. Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's go back to my place, right? Let's play a game of Cards Against Humanity. Let's play some trivia. Let's play, I have a foosball table. Let's play foosball. That's all you have to do. You just have to lead. And it's only going to be maybe 5 to 10% of girls that are like that. But if you're not getting them, why are you worried about this more advanced stuff? Learn how to get them first by having a straight line from approaching to pulling until you bring them home. And then when you can get those 5 to 10% of girls, then you can worry about the maybe girls. And if you really want to go crazy, you can learn how to like make girls try to cheat on their wives or whatever, or on their husbands. If you want to get into the dark wizardry. And the third thing about these guys is that their sexual intentions are very clear. They don't necessarily say, you're hot, you're beautiful, you're so attractive. But you look at this guy talking to the girl, and if you're across the bar, you think they're together. You think they're about to have sex. That's the feeling. And this is what a lot of guys who are trying to learn games struggle with. It's so friendly. It's so logical. It's an interview. But you should be looking at the girl with a penetrative, and that's kind of a double entendre, a penetrative look. A look like you want her, like you desire her. That should be the feeling you're projecting. And if you're not, it shouldn't be so surprising that the girls get bored. She wants to feel something. And to make her feel something, you have to put energy out there. You have to have a certain level of intensity. So all these guys have intensity in their interactions. And like I said, one of these guys is in his 50s, and he pulled a 22-year-old last week. And then also a 31-year-old. And I'm like, bro, that's way too old. That's disgusting. 31-year-old woman. What are you doing? Another one is very short and balding, average looking, pretty good shape. That's the one thing he has going for him physically. But again, this guy pulls almost every night. Another one is an Indian guy that is, by society standards, not good looking, scrawny, actually skinny fat, which is kind of worse. The last week I hung out with him, he pulled 4 nights, 4 days, and got laid each of those times. And I know there's a part of you that's skeptical. There's a part of you that's watched red pill and black pill content and thinks this is impossible. Societal biases have made you think that this is impossible, that I'm just trying to sell you something, that I'm trying to convince you it's possible so you buy my product. But have you tried it? Have you done these things? The 3 things I mentioned in this video. Have you had a night where you approached 30 to 50 girls in one night? You always led them. You always tried to lead them around, move things forward constantly. And your intentions were very clearly sexual. Probably not. So there's a part of you that doesn't believe this is possible for you, but you should never believe something is possible or not until you've experimented with it. That's what's going to determine whether you're able to improve, not just in pickup, not just in attracting women, but in any area of life. So I want you to keep that in mind. That, yeah, you can think I'm biased and that, oh, I'm exaggerating, I'm making stuff up. Sure, but have you tried it? Would it really be that hard to spend 4 hours one night, approach 30 to 50 girls? It's just 4 hours to find out if there might be some truth to what I'm saying and to see if your entire dating life can change forever. To find out if you can have a life where you're getting multiple dates per week, or if maybe, oh, you need to looks max and you need to wait for yourself to get rich or whatever. Is that really too much to test the theory? And if it is, okay, fine. And if it's not, then there's hope for you to change course. It's that willingness to accept ignorance, that I don't know the truth, and to try different things. That's actually the real key. Most of these guys that I'm talking about, they were not always good with women. These are guys who learned pickup. They bought courses. They watched videos. They tried different things, but they believed maybe it's possible. And then they figured it out over time. They didn't decide for themselves that they were going to fail before they even tried. That's one of the most depressing things to me in this world. That's why I think someone like Wheat Waffles is causing people to become depressed, because he's telling them to not even try. to not figure out through experience, to just trust what someone said on the internet and take it as fact. It's hopeless for you. Don't try. Just be a leaf in the wind. That's the message that most people are telling you. And if you believe that message, then you will fail. But there's going to be a few people watching this who question that, who are willing to try something else, to get out of their comfort zone, to challenge their ego, and those people will succeed. If you enjoyed this video and you want to go deeper with me, you want to work on a higher level where I can personally guide you to get the dating life that you've always wanted, to be one of those guys that is pulling more nights than he's not, then I highly encourage you to click the link below to schedule a free 30-minute coaching call where we can talk about the details of my mentorship program.